My name is Linda Carter. I will be your instructor for this course. We're going to be looking at the FDA final guidance on how to complete the 1572 adequately and accurately. For the bulk of this presentation, we are going to be referring specifically to that guidance document, which is one of my top 5 guidance documents, because this is an area where many sponsors have questions or there's inconsistency or lack of clarity for exactly what is to be completed in the 1572. Part of the handouts that we've provided to you in addition to this guidance document is an actual copy of the 1572. And I'll show you, if you don't already know this, I will show you how to find this on the FDA website when we get there as well. I've also provided for you a copy of a warning letter that specifically identifies the failure of the sponsor to include, or a failure of the investigator to include, important information about their sub-investigators. And so we'll be referring to that later on in the presentation. So just want to give a quick disclaimer about the discussion that we're having here today. The information that we're providing here is not intended to be legal advice. We're going to talk about some areas where there may be I don't want to say conflict, but a difference of interpretation. And what we want you to understand, and what we're trying to convey here, is that the FDA during inspections holds what's called the strictest rule. And that's what we're going to recommend. And so when we talk about maybe a difference between SOPs, or we talk about a difference between what the sponsor thinks or what the investigator thinks should be included, the strictest rule is usually the one that is followed and that the FDA expects the sponsor and clinical site to follow. Typically, these conflicts occur with SOPs, or perhaps a local regulation might vary from, say, specifically what's identified in the protocol, and so it would be the strictest rule. Sometimes, for example, there are local regulations regarding emancipated minors, and so we typically recognize the age of consent to be 18 years of age. But some states recognize emancipated minors, which might be 17 years of age or 16 years of age, to be considered legally acceptable to sign documents on their behalf, and so could sign an informed consent. So your informed consent might say subjects of legal age or legal age of consent beginning with 18 years of age, but if legal age of consent in that particular state is 17, the strictest law here would then be what the state regulations say. So that's just a little clarification I wanted to ensure that was made clear. References that I just spoke to, what we are referring to through most of this presentation, is the frequently asked questions on the Form 1572, but we're also referring in many areas of this presentation to the GCP guides as well. The objectives for this presentation are that you should be able to review significant final guidance content, and that the detailed form completion clarifications for the key debated sections on the 1572, that you should be able to assess the impact on current practices, and be able to review some case studies of documented deficiencies of the form and the warning letters, and map the guidance to the other FDA initiatives. So why do we need a 1572? And why do we have this guidance document? And I think I alluded to earlier that this is one of those forms that there seems to be a great deal of misunderstanding, especially with regards to certain areas, specifically who should be listed as a sub-investigator, or what 1572 needs to be signed for clinical trials that are not under an IND or might be conducted outside of the U.S. So these are some of the areas that we're going to touch on today, and why this particular guidance document was developed. And as with any guidance document, it is the FDA's current thinking about the regulations, and they create these guidance documents to help bring greater clarification to the regulations that may be less than clear and might be a little bit vague. The FDA receives a lot of questions regarding the 1572, and that's the other reason why they felt that this was important to have this guidance document completed. It was actually finalized in May of 2010, and I know that I refer to this guidance document frequently in many other presentations that I provide.